Today, I'm going to talk about my number one strategy for overcoming burnout, anxiety, PTSD, and getting my life straightened out. And that is rewiring your thoughts. We're going to walk you through it, so stick around. Let's get after it. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the channel. My name is Aaron Smith, retired police officer and founder of the 180 Impact. We work with first responders and high-stress professionals to recover from burnout, rebuild their mental and emotional health, help them rebuild their relationships, and find purpose beyond the job. Okay, today I want to talk to you about the number one strategy that I discovered to help me start rebuilding my life, overcoming burnout, overcoming anger issues, anxiety issues, and really stepping forward and starting to heal my marriage and relationships. And that was rewiring my brain, rewiring my thoughts. What does that look like? How did I stumble upon it? As many of you may know, several years ago, I had walked off of the job as a police officer of 18 years. I was sitting at home completely wiped out, burned out. I had anger issues. I was bitter about everything. I was mad at my department. I was struggling in my marriage. And I did not know where I was going to start rebuilding my life, essentially. And it was interesting. I was sitting home watching Netflix, and I saw this show called I'm Not Your Guru by Tony Robbins. Now, before you start judging me on the Tony Robbins thing, hear me out. I always thought the same thing. Like, Tony Robbins is this motivational hype guy, this motivational guru. I've seen some of his seminars or clips of his seminars where he's got people jumping up and down and clapping and all this other stuff. And I thought, this is super cheesy. I'm even going to show my age a little bit and say, I remember when I watched Tony Robbins on late night infomercials selling cassettes and CDs about unlimited power, and he has this beach in the background, and I'm not really one for all of that motivational stuff, but I started watching this Netflix documentary on Tony Robbins, and he surprised the heck out of me. This is the same kind of cheesy jump around Tony Robbins that I'd come to know without doing any homework, and he was in people's faces, and he was challenging them, and he was telling them, you have a set of beliefs, and what you're doing is you're not aligning with those beliefs. You are responsible for your thoughts, your emotions, your actions and behaviors in order to achieve these goals. And the one story is in the opening montage or monologue of the movie. He's got this kid who no longer wants to live. He wants to take his own life, and he's calling him out. And he's like, you're responsible. And so that really struck a chord with me. And I thought, like, you know what? Bless your heart, Tony Robbins. You're absolutely right. So with that information, I became obsessed with researching thoughts, beliefs, all of this stuff. How can I be responsible for getting this train back on the tracks? And I come across the science of neuroplasticity and rewiring our thoughts. Now, many years ago, science would tell us that at a certain age, your brain stops growing. You've reached your capacity. It is what it is. You're stuck with the mind that you have. And we now know that that is no longer true. Based on, or thanks to neuroscience, they can hook stuff up to your brain and your body. And literally, as you're sitting thinking, they can watch different systems activate in your body. Your heart rate can go up or go down. Adrenaline and cortisol can be pumped just simply from your thoughts. One thing I want you to think about is that your thoughts run your emotions run your behavior. So here I am sitting at home thinking, like, this makes sense. I think I can make this work. How do I start this process? So here's how we're going to start the process. I'm going to walk you through how I did it for myself personally and how I continue to do it to this day. First thing, you have to sit down and be very intentional and take the time to put yourself in that negative state. You have to be honest with yourself and say, okay, where am I at in my thought life? If it's not your thought life, think about this. You don't think depression. You don't think anger. You don't think sadness, right? Does that make sense? You feel it. You feel angry. You feel depressed. You feel you're in these states. Well, what happens is that you have to have the thoughts running your system before your nervous system catches it and feels it. Thoughts run your emotions run your behaviors. So you're going to sit down. You're going to be very intentional about picking out these negative thoughts that you have. My negative thought is I'm angry at everything, right? You may have several negative thoughts going on, and that's okay. Start writing some of those down. Okay. I'm angry at the department for not taking care of me and caused a bunch of bitterness. I'm angry because I I have no control over this job. Start writing that stuff down, okay? The second thing you're going to do is you're going to replace that with something positive. Now, this sounds corny and it sounds a little bit cheesy, but trust me, this works. You're going to write down a positive statement to replace that negative one. For me personally, I used a lot of scripture verses here. I used create a clean heart in me, O Lord, renew a steadfast spirit in me. I used, I think it's Romans 12:2. Do not be conformed to this world, but be conformed by the renewing of your mind. I used a lot of that stuff, or I would just simply write, how am I going to replace this negative thought with a positive thought? After you've replaced that, write that statement down, because you're going to continue to repeat this to yourself. Don't worry about what anybody thinks. You can do this by yourself. What I want you to do next is, once you have that positive thought in place, I want you to stop and think about, what does that feel like? If I walk in this new thought, how does that begin to change my life? How do I hold myself? How do I walk around? How do I treat other people? How do I interact with other people? For me personally, I just wanted peace in my life. And many of you want the same thing, and you can't find it because of this negativity, right? So how am I going to feel? I'm going to feel peaceful. I'm going to have those little butterflies of peace in my body, and I'm going to throw my shoulders back, and I'm going to stand upright and just be positive, right? So the thought is replaced. The feeling is then going to start happening. Now, you're going to have to journal some of this stuff, because this sounds very simplistic and a little bit corny, but you're going to take 2 steps forward and 3 steps back on certain times and certain days. So if you're able to journal, if you're able to write this down, because it's very easy to give up when you let your thoughts slip and you go back to an old pattern, okay? So we're looking to continue the process. We're looking to push through. We're looking to continue no matter what, right? If you're on a diet or you're on a fitness program and you have a bad day, you slip on your diet, you don't just quit the whole thing, right? You continue forward. This is the same process. Thoughts run your emotions, emotions run your behavior. So we're going to rewire those thoughts. Neuroscience has backed this up for several years now. I've looked at all of the research. I've read dozens of books just on rewiring the mind, neuroplasticity, and then I utilized that in my own life. What began to happen was that I would have phrases that I would say out loud. I would notice that something would start to set me off, and I would insert that phrase. When I went back to work and something would upset me, I had an accountability partner, and I would say something as simple as, that's above my pay grade. I don't have control of that. And then I would move away from that situation. As I continued to build those reps up, I rewired my mind to not let that stuff bother me. I rewired my mind to walk into peace, walk into happiness. And once I started really feeling what that felt like, it made a world of difference. Then you can start building new habits. Then you can start fixing some of the other things in your life. Now, having a positive mindset, thinking positive thoughts isn't going to heal a broken relationship, okay? It's not going to magically make everything great in your life, but it is going to give you that stepping stone or that starting point in order to start coming out of those feelings, start coming out of these emotions and looking at things through the lens of something more positive, something more happy. All right. So again, this whole process sounds kind of like out there. I wasn't sure if I believed it either, but looking into the research and really studying the science and looking at different ways that they're able to scan the mind when somebody's thinking certain thoughts and how that had an effect on their entire body made me a believer. God created our minds, our thoughts, our bodies, our nervous systems, and we have the ability to fix that, to repair that. We're not supposed to walk around in this state of anger, anxiety, and depression, right? So thoughts, what's your negative thought? Write those down. What positive thoughts are you going to replace those with? Write those down. What phrases are you going to say to yourself out loud? What is that feeling going to be when you're now walking in those positive thoughts that are going to create positive emotions, that are going to create positive behaviors and going to walk you on to become the owner of your thoughts, feelings, emotions, and behaviors? Okay, so rewire the brain. It's scientifically possible. I'm living proof of it. I'm just a meathead that doesn't know science. I think I got a C in science, Mr. Passetti, but I still love you. All right, if this resonated with you, I would greatly appreciate if you subscribe to this channel. Drop a comment below. If you're bold enough to write down what are some of the positive thoughts that you're going to start walking out, what are some of the negative thoughts that you're going to destroy, and how is that going to make you feel? subscribe to our channel, hit the like button, share this with somebody, a first responder, or just a loved one. And we're going to put more of this stuff out there and start walking you through some of these practices that help you heal your mind, your soul, and your emotions. Till next time, enjoying the beautiful outdoors. We'll see ya.